Welcome to Canonymous with another CTV panel reaction video looking at the Online Harms Bill. This bill, according to Justin Trudeau, is supposed to legislate against online harm and will focus on making the internet safer for minors. While not censoring it for the rest of Canadians, I doubt that. It's supposed to protect kids who are vulnerable to online hate, violence, and being bullied, all of which are true and a good thing. But I'm not even sure the libs know how to right-click on a mouse, let alone create a bill that both helps minors and doesn't harm adults online. This should be interesting for sure. Let's see what the others have to say, and we'll break it down.
I think we got the teaser from the Prime Minister today in which he really squarely framed this as protecting children. As somebody who also hasn't read the bill, like Pierre Poilievre, because it's not yet available to anybody other than the government, I don't know how that will square up with what's actually in the bill. But he was actually quite disciplined in his comments today on making this about protecting children and really trying to counter the conservative message that this was about him or about censorship online. And I think if they do land that argument, maybe they have a way to make this politically sellable.
So I don't think anyone would or should disagree with helping out kids when it comes to being online. It's a dangerous place. I'm a 90s baby, grown up with the internet, but kids these days are growing up with social media, which is a whole other beast. During my childhood, the internet, for the most part, was pretty isolated. You had MSN and RuneScape and MapleStory and other things like that. But still, you logged off and that was it. Phones were pretty dumb, so it wasn't around the clock internet spying and boobies and ads that had your search history and knew you better than you knew you. But the big fear is, what do you consider harmful to kids? And by you, I mean the Lib government. As Pierre puts it, what is hate speech to Trudeau?
What does Justin Trudeau mean when he says the word hate speech? He means speech he hates.
I think politically the government's not in a position right now where they need to be engaging in a wide-ranging debate about what online hate speech looks like. They'd be a lot more politically shrewd right now to rename this the Online Protection for Kids and Cyberbullying Act, right? This would be something that would be a lot more squarely focused on protecting kids, dealing with cyberbullying, introducing similar protections to those that exist, frankly, across the Commonwealth and across the G7 that don't exist here in Canada. We've seen some previews of that from the government. As Marika mentioned, we've seen some of the stakeholder community they're advocating for this legislation start to shift towards protecting kids and dealing with cyberbullying in the same way they do in Australia and the UK and other countries. So I do think that would be the
Liberals really need a win here, because everything they try to do, it backfires heavily, and I love it. Taking a look at some of the other countries mentioned, their online protection like bills, Australia, he mentioned, doesn't really have anything I found that's really crazy above what seems normal, I guess, and things that I'm pretty sure we have in ours. And nothing that specifically targets minors when it comes to their privacy. But the Online Safety Act update done by the UK did seem a lot better. So it broadened cyberbullying for children to capture harms that occur on services other than social media. So at least it's a little bit more out there across the internet. If you have anything that's like, really state-of-the-art legislation for the Australian ones, let me know. But on the UK side, I did find that they have age verification, putting more responsibility on the larger social media platforms. They want them to publish risk assessments regularly so you can see how things are going, track it, good analytics, whatnot, protect kids more. My issues with these laws, though needed and helpful, never get to the core aspect of the issues, which is parents need to be more aware. I get that parents are busy and they have other things going on, and I feel like maybe the laws need to maybe mandate parental control apps in a way, or maybe even go as far as to design a semi-dumb phone that minors are basically supposed to legally have. They can't get a regular, adult smartphone, if that makes sense, and you have to have that phone, and basically it comes in with a built-in restriction, right? Because I just don't see any external other laws where they have access to the whole internet really stopping kids who really want to. You know what I mean? You just need one curious kid and he can spread it to the rest of the school like wildfire. And I get my idea sounds, like a lot, but in this day and age, I feel we need to save kids from themselves, because kids are dumb. They're just dumb. They haven't been here very long, their brains aren't fully developed, so of course, they're dumb.
And I do think Pierre Poilievre needs to be careful on these topics. I think both on the discussion that we just had on trans rights, on his comments earlier today. He does run the risk of polarizing a lot of voters that are important to him. I think women voters across the country are going to be taking a close look at him. And if he continues to sound like the internet comment section in the way he did at his press conference today, I think we're going to continue to see some voters hardening towards his way of communicating. His political speech, it can be a little off-putting at times.
So before I address this point, France has a pretty good online protection thing. I forgot to mention that in the earlier points going on with their laws. In order to change certain settings like public to private status of a social media profile or activating optional geolocation in an app requires both the child and the parent to agree to it so it can happen. So both parties essentially need to consent in a way that makes it possible, which I think is pretty cool. May not be perfect, but it seems like a good step in the right direction. Okay, but on to this point. I kind of agree here. I think Pierre should keep away from all of these, as much as possible. Try and stick to the facts that affect all people. I don't think he's winning any voters with comments on trans issues or hate speech too much. Now, most people are outwardly asking him for it. So, that's a completely different situation. But I think if he can sort of stay off of that, it's going to be better for him. The people in his corner the people that are already in his corner are in his corner. It's the fence sitters you're trying to pull from the liberal fence sitters that, are looking to maybe vote somewhere else, the more center people. I think he should gain more. I think he would gain more from cold, hard facts on how policies that Trudeau is implementing do more harm than good.
If I were sitting there, if I were in the Conservative caucus right now, I would absolutely be opposing every piece of legislation that's proposed or on the books, because right now, the best way to approach this government is to say that anything it does, anything that it brings out, anything that it says can't be trusted, is wrong, is flawed. The government is so bad that it just can't do anything right whatsoever, and you can't trust them anymore. So you can't give them any wins.
No doubt about this one, she's right. Keep hammering home the errors, the flaws, the hypocrisy. Now, obviously, there are some things the libs do that I agree with. Hell no. I'm kidding. Everything they do is bad. They should feel bad because they are bad. But seriously, could I?
What ends up happening next, I don't know what's going to be in the legislation. It definitely will be interesting to see. But watch the younger generation. Anything that curtails their ability to say whatever they want to say in any form and any social media where they want to say it, boy, you're going to get their attention real fast. And I know that because I've got two Gen Zs who tell me all the time how wrong I am on absolutely everything.
2 of 2, right again. I know what I said about the government putting in a semi-dumb phone earlier, but I'm bouncing ideas around and, generating what I think might work. I wasn't talking about censoring the internet, but rather having devices that are already gatekeeping for minors. Anyways, the government cartelling our freedom on the internet is a scary thing, and bills that give them more and more control over the internet and what people can and can't do on it is the worst thing imaginable. In the hands of someone like Trudeau, the dictator, only bad things can happen, as we've seen. I'm going to end the video right there. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more.